A big thing is the self-advocacy piece. So I know you talk about speaking up for yourself a lot. That's a huge piece when it comes to accommodations in college because students have to self-disclose and they have to come to my office to request accommodations. So it's a little different in high school. Typically, students are identified. They work with the student. Hey, help. Where in college, it's more. I won't know a student has a need unless they come talk to me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your ever so awesome host, Nick Comstock. You guys, I am so glad you're joining me today on this Tuesday. It's a great day to be alive. Why? Because I'm here. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. You guys, the holidays are coming up, and I can't think of a better way to treat yourself than to get a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Maybe you can get a gift certificate for a friend for Christmas. Maybe if you get a gift certificate for a friend for Christmas, they'll be nicer to you the next year. So, what better way to celebrate than getting a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio? And our friends at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio have said the Nick Speaks viewers and listeners get 20% off their visit when you register online. So register online with Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio and get 20% off when you use the promo code Speak Up at checkout. So go do that. Men, get your wife a massage. Wives, get your husbands a massage. And just go feel better, everybody. That'll make me happy this holiday season, knowing that my viewers and listeners are feeling better because they did what I told them to. Okay, guys, let's get into today's show. Today, I have a great friend and former colleague who's been in the disabled system, working through the disabled system for about the past 10 or 11 years now. I used to work with him at the Richland County Board of DD. He actually helped me get my feet wet in the public speaking field. And we're going to talk to him about several things he does. He now works at disability service for the Ohio State University. So we're going to welcome him and have a good conversation. Please help me welcome to Nick Speaks, Kodey Kreglow. Kodey, how are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me, Nick. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Kodey, you and I have had we had an interesting start because I came to the Richland County Board of Developmental Disabilities in 2015. And ironically, you and I started at the same time. I started there as a client, and then you started there as working. And you were my case manager for all of 30 seconds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. Started the Richland County Board of DD around 2015 as a service and support administrator. So, exactly, help coordinate services, authorize services for individuals with disabilities. Correct. In Richland County. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome getting to know you, although you didn't end up being my case manager. And we ended up working in several different spaces together, and we'll talk about that through today's episode. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit about you and how you got started in the field, and then I'll get into it and we'll ask some questions and have a great time.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'll kind of start just kind of my career background. So I started out um, with it's called a National Youth Advocate Program back in 2008 in Columbus. And then as a family case manager, so a managed care provider for Franklin County Children's Services. About 5 years spent there, and then spent another year or so at Crawford County Children's Services near Bucyrus, Ohio. Then from there, yeah, 2015, I started a position at the Richland County Board of Developmental Disabilities, also known as Richland New Hope in our area. I
Mhm.
spent my initial year or so, pretty brief moment as a service and support administrator. And then I spent another, I was there for about 10 years. So another big chunk of my time there was spent as an employment navigation specialist. And that's when Nick and I spent some time together on some different programming and opportunities for Nick during that time. And then the last two years of my career at Richland County Board of DD, I was the an SSA manager, service support administrator manager for the county board. From there, I just started with the Ohio State University at Mansfield as an accessibility specialist, which is through our disability services office here in the regional campus here at Mansfield. Yep.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That is cool, and I loved every minute that I got to spend with you. We actually spent a lot of time. We were talking about this in the pre-call the other
Hmm.
day. We spent a lot of time at Penn Station, East Coast subs.
We did, yeah. That was quite the a great place to go. Yeah, I really yeah enjoyed that
So
for sure.
if Penn Station would like to sponsor like a free sandwich to Nick Speaks listeners, I'm here. You can email me. I love Penn Station. So Kodey, why don't you tell me, did you always want to work with people with disabilities, or was there something else and you just kind of fell into this, or how did all that get started?
Sure. Yeah. So, I've always enjoyed, helping other people. When I first started my career with children's services, my background's actually my degree is in criminal justice administration. And so that's kind of my background as far as degree goes. And then after college, I had an opportunity to work at again children's services, working in with juvenile court, different things like that. But I really enjoyed helping others, coordinating services, developing plans for others. And so, I mean, I did work with some, children and parents that may have been an individual with disability, but it wasn't my primary role or experience. It wasn't until after I was with Crawford County, and then an opening came up with Mercer County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I had a coworker that I work with at Crawford County that went to the county board, and we got to talking about, well, this is really something that I think I would enjoy doing, working with individuals that, you know, um, just creating opportunities. I thought that would be a great opportunity for myself. So really, had an opportunity for the position and kind of got in the SSA role, which I really enjoyed. But the employment navigation position is what really opened up the interest for me of just really supporting individuals with disabilities, working with the transition age students, and planning for during and after high school, and also some community connection partnerships and things like that. So I kind of, in a way, fell into that role, but I've always had experience working with other people and helping others be successful and creating opportunities for others.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you grow up around a lot of people with disabilities? Was it something you were around often?
Not often as, growing up, going to school, I mean, obviously there were students with disabilities that, we went to school with, but it wasn't something that um I had a lot of experience with, I didn't grow up with family members or close friends with children or others with a disability. So no, it wasn't really my background growing up, but it was kind of something as I got into my career that's something that I really enjoyed and um, helps, something I kind of fell into as I got into my career with the county board.
Okay. So
Mhm.
when you started with the county board and
Mhm.
working with people like me and others, were you kind of nervous as far as, oh my goodness, I don't know what to say? Because that's what a lot of people say, like they don't know how to act, they don't know how to talk around
I
people
don't
with
I
disabilities.
don't I
Nervous
don't
about-
think so. I mean, I had a lot of experiences working with a lot of, um, you know, um, a lot of people, especially with children's services. I got to meet a lot of different people, people from different backgrounds, cultural differences. So I felt like no, I just felt like it was kind of a natural conversation. The biggest thing for me, I think, is just knowing, just getting to know the resources in the community, and in that area of coordinating services was, I think, more of the challenge for me. Not necessarily working with individual disabilities. I think it was more just the coordination and just knowing what's available to help individuals be successful. But no, I think I felt came pretty natural just working with other people. So no, I mean I felt I think pretty comfortable. And yeah.
That's
Mm.
awesome. So you said was it the last 2 years when you worked at the county board that you were involved with employment navigation, or did that take place a little bit
So
sooner?
a little bit sooner, yeah. So like I said, I was there for about 10 years. I spent, the first year as an SSA, service support administrator, and then I spent probably the next, I don't know, 6 years as employment navigation specialist, 6 or 7. So the majority of my time, kind of the middle of my career at the county board, was spent with employment navigation, which that position was specifically, and it was a new position for our county. So I kind of opened it up. I was the first position in our county with that title. And so I kind of created that as, had an opportunity to kind of create my own role within the county for that position, which was pretty awesome to do, and kind of create partnerships with school districts, business partners, community agencies, of how we can help build career pathways and opportunities for students and adults with disabilities that were on their path to employment or just looking for that community connection. So that was a big piece in the county board of my career there. Yeah.
What was the employment navigation kind of way to get away from the cookie cutter process of ODD? Was that to add an extra layer, you think?
Yeah, I think what it was, I think for us, it was more like to fill the gap on how can we help transition age youth. So that's kind of the target population of when we first started this position was transition age youth. So individuals that are, age 14 and up that are still in high school that we're trying to help build career pathways for students. And then how can we help educate school districts, educate parents, businesses, other organizations on just opportunities for students to have, uh, just opportunities for, as they're connecting with employment services. Can we get connected with internships, with, um, job opportunities? For sometimes, we talk with school districts that, and we want to try to get away from going the only pathway for a student is the sheltered workshop, making piece
Right.
rate sheltered workshops. So how can we help navigate and get more to that competitive community employment, which was the goal for, you know, um, when we talk about employment first and how Department of Adult Disabilities, like, we really came out with the community competitive employment um, executive order with CASIC, and how can we help bridge
Yeah.
that gap with our community? So that's kind of the push right there. Is kind of how we can help students be successful, and how can we present opportunities for students, and just educate school districts as well and parents on that. Yep.
Now, it's interesting that you brought up the piece rate and the sheltered workshops because
Hmm.
in a couple weeks I'm going to be doing a show with somebody who is actually working with the state of Ohio to try to um do away with sub minimum wage.
Hmm.
So, because the fact that we're still talking about a piece rate for those of people with disabilities in 2025 is ridiculous, in my opinion. So, there are people working hard to do away with that. I personally, this is just my personal opinion. There are some that are uh, in the state of Ohio. Again, this is just my personal opinion. There are some in the state of Ohio that are trying to do away with sheltered workshops, period. And I don't think personally that that's a good idea, because that may be the only place that someone, depending on their severity of their disability, may be able to work. But if you're, in my opinion, if you're going to call a sheltered workshop work, well, then they should be getting a, a working wage. That's just my opinion. People may disagree. Come for me. I'm good for it. I'm ready for the debate. But yeah, that's that's a good thing that you brought up about the sheltered workshop. And stay tuned for that episode in the next couple of weeks, because that's going to be a great episode and a great discussion. I want to talk to you about, because you guys, especially in Richland, I almost said the county I'm in, you guys, especially in Richland, I think had some real success with the employment navigation. So why don't you talk about a couple of your success stories?
Sure. Yeah. So my time spent with the county board, um, I had some opportunities to meet some great individuals, work with some great, teachers, intervention specialists with school districts, and create some partnerships with businesses, organizations, and so a great, um, you know, some of the success would be, so I worked with an individual that was really interested in working in the field of automotive field. And so how can we connect students with career, opportunities in that field? And so I connected with a local business in our area, and we got to talking about internship opportunity for an individual. And so I was able to create that connection, and then we could like, okay, how can we seek some funding for some job training, maybe get some funding for maybe some uniform supplies, transportation, things like that to help things be successful. So I connected with another local agency in our area to get some funding for a paid work internship for about 90 days. And so through that funding, we're able to connect with this business, create funding for at least 90 days for this internship. So it's no cost to the business. And they had an opportunity to work with this individual for, 3 months. After the 3 months, we met again as a team meeting, and the employer was very happy with the work that the individual was doing. The individual had a great attitude, those types of things, and really wanted to hire the individual. So then we looked at some other funding. We looked at, OOD, Opportunities with Ohio with Disabilities, has some great funding opportunities for job training, and different things they can help fund specifically for employment services. And so we connected the student with that, and then also through some waiver funding. So a great thing is we have actually access three different funding streams throughout the student's work at the automotive place. And then we also be able to coordinate those services. So and that student ended up working there for quite some time, and was very successful in that. So it wasn't specifically, it was more of a detailing job, and that was something the student was really interested in. So connecting with the automotive field and was doing more car detailing at this position. But we had an opportunity to do an internship, and then also all the way through paid employment, and accessed three different funding streams, which was pretty awesome to see the students succeed in that opportunity.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. I think
Mhm.
I actually know I was on a panel with the guy that you're speaking of. I remember meeting him, and
Okay.
he did from what you're saying, he did a great job. Now were these paid, was that internship specifically, was that a paid internship, or were a lot of these internships free internships and then they
For
turned paid?
for this one specifically, it was a paid internship. Yeah, so it was a paid internship that the organization that he was connected with paid for. So it was an opportunity to get paid through this organization, this funding stream. So yeah, it was a paid work internship that turned into employment. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, do you think employment navigation, because now I know several counties have it, um, do you think employment navigation helps employ more people with disabilities? Is there more of a success rate employing people with disabilities because of employment navigation?
Yeah, I don't have the direct data on that, but I would assume, I mean, you're building connections. The employment navigation for the county board when I was there, would have been over a year ago, but I think it's just a great thing to connect school districts with businesses, with community agencies, and just getting to know what other resources are available for students. There's a lot of resources that students can connect with, or parents or school staff can connect students with for you're talking having speakers come into the classroom, talk about different jobs. You can have setting up business tours, having some hands-on experience with just independent living skills too. Not only did employment navigation help with business tours, speakers, we also would set up, things with local banks to talk about budgeting and living expenses. We talked about other things related to leadership and things like that. So we helped a lot of just not only those career pathways, but also just connecting with your community and knowing what else is out there. Um, because sometimes students just seeing a job or learning about a job, um, it can say, "Well, I really didn't realize that was a position that's open." Or they realize, "Well, I go on this business tour, it's not what I thought it was, and I kinda wanna change my mind," which is fine. So, yeah, I think it really increased, I think, just education and, the just knowing what's out there, what's available, and connecting others together. So, I do think that was definitely a success for that, though, was just building that connection with others in our community.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems to be like a really neat program that you were
Mhm,
involved in. I did a lot of work with you. You actually
mhm,
got my feet wet in public speaking. Spoke with State Support Team 7, did some other panels. For those of you who don't
mhm.
know what state support teams are, they kind of help our public school system navigate their education system. Each county here, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, have a state support team. Or
Yeah,
is
I
it
think
county by
yeah.
county or district?
Yeah, I think they do it, by region, I believe. Yeah, I've been away from that for a little while, but yeah, I think they typically do each county is assigned like a region, and that region supports those districts in that region. Yes, with like education, training, and just being a support person for school districts and kind of, yeah, so they would hold trainings, presentations, and a great way to like network with others. Especially for me, I would attend State Support Team 7 as a networking opportunity to build those relationships with districts. Sometimes businesses would go or other organizations. So that was kind of a great way to network and connect with our area. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. I enjoyed going there that one time to speak. My only complaint was there was no food. So,
Right? I know, right? That's
no,
why we always went, well, that's why we had to hit up the Penn Station, I guess, right, Nick?
yes, you know me, every conference or every something I have to do has to have food involved.
Right.
And I'm not talking about a box lunch either. That no, that's not good enough. It has to be hot food
Right.
like pizza or donuts or
Uh-huh.
something worth it that's going to make me go sit through sessions of
Right.
people yapping all the time. And even if I'm speaking, I want there to be food.
Mhm.
So, because I'm a pretty entertaining speaker, if I do say so myself, but I still want, if people have to come listen to me and look at this face, I still want them to have food before they have
Right?
that. So, always an advocate for food. But
I agree.
so we talked about the success with that
Mhm.
automotive job. What were some of the things, like, if you could, a lot of people say this sounds cliche, and it is, but if you could have waved a magic wand, what were some of the frustrations that you had that were just like, this is ridiculous? If I had the power to fix it, um, I would have.
Um, probably, and I can go back to employment navigation position. I think that's some of the challenges you always face, I think, with working with other organizations, with school districts, is sometimes, and it happens, I've done it, people change positions a lot. So, having built a connection with someone, and you're really starting to get some momentum, and then for whatever reason, that person that you built that connection with moves on to another position or changes positions, and you kind of lose that connection sometimes. So at times you kind of felt like you're always trying to reconnect with um other people, other organizations. You kind of built that, you kind of had a plan and going moving forward. You're starting to build a program or build those connections, and then for whatever reason you lose that connection, you lose that knowledge of what you had for that thing you started. So sometimes you feel like you're starting over at times, which can be kind of frustrating at times, or
Definitely.
or maybe the next person isn't as um open or willing to try new things. So it just depends. So that was a frustration or challenge I faced a lot with just school districts, with other organizations, just that sometimes that turnover, and trying to
Yeah.
recreate that connection. Yeah.
The changing of the guard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you're just like, oh, we had such a great rapport, and now it's gone. I struggle with that
Mm-hmm.
as a client that receives caregivers. I just lost a caregiver. He went and got another job. His wife had a baby, and he's been working with me for over a year. And it's like, and we have to have two new people shadow
Yeah.
my routine this weekend, and it's like, ugh, I have to open myself up again, be vulnerable, yeah,
Right.
all those things. So I totally get that frustration. Did you also have frustrations with some businesses, you know, wanting to give opportunity because they wasn't sure how it was going to work out? And yeah,
pretty much most of the businesses are pretty open. I think as long as I can explain everything in depth and kind of usually businesses were pretty open about having business tours, students come in. They're usually pretty open about coming in and speaking about their business, and I kind of made it like, there's a lot of students here that it's kind of untapped employee potential, when we're facing, if there's, businesses are looking for work, say, hey, there's a lot of workers here that we have that's untapped, and how can we help create opportunities for these students? So I feel like for the most part, all businesses are pretty open on those things. I mean, a lot of students would have questions, but as like, if we can create an opportunity, especially if, like you say, the internship's paid, not by the employer, but maybe from the organization. I mean, what is it? They're usually pretty open. Hey, I'll try that. It's not um, really just have to open it up for the student. But if there's a paid work internship, I mean, most of them are, I think, willing to try that or open to it. So I think it was pretty well with that in our area.
yeah, you did a great job at it, and we did a lot of work together. I'm trying to remember. We did state support team 7. Was there any other panels that I did with you? I did a couple, I thought.
I know the state support team 7, you came in and spoke about just your experiences growing up and some of the opportunities you had or didn't have in high school, and kind of gave your viewpoint of things you worked through. Um, so you kind of presented from your viewpoint, which I think was very helpful, because I know we had panels of, we talked to students with businesses, organizations, but coming from, your lived experience, I think was pretty impactful during that state support team 7, which I think led to other opportunities from someone that you may have met, like networking opportunity there. So I think just getting that opportunity just to kind of speak and connect with others, I think is awesome. You were part of Best Buddies that we had.
Yeah.
So that was actually I think you're the best buddies. Was it ambassador, director?
Ambassador, direct, son,
Yeah.
well, Missy Boyd, who I need to get on this program. So
Oh
Missy,
yeah.
listening, hello. Um, she was the president. Best Buddies
Hmm.
um is a program that is national, that has chapters all over the country, um, that pairs Ohio State students, well, not specifically, but that college student body with people who are disabled, whether it be mental challenges or physically or both. And I actually still remember my best buddy, Austin, who
Okay.
we hung out a lot, and we actually did a TV spot together with 10 TV. I don't know if you remember. We did a me and Austin did a TV spot
Okay.
on the
That's all.
news
Oh,
with
cool.
10 TV. I haven't talked to Austin in a while. I know he got married and all that kind of cool stuff, but it was really neat. And Best Buddies really is an opportunity. Now, I would change the name, but that's just me because um sometimes people with disabilities are kind of talked down to, like, hey little buddy, so I told them from the beginning, if there was a better name that I could find, I would change it. But it's a really great organization. I don't think Columbus has one right now, but I would encourage them to bring it back, um, because I talk about all the time, and I think you can second this because you work with me a lot. People with disabilities, mental or physical, need community, and this was a great way to do it. I remember the funnest event I think I was ever part of with Best Buddies was the dueling piano event. Do you remember that?
I do. I actually missed that event. I don't remember what I had going on, but I didn't make that event, and I was, yeah, super bummed I couldn't make it. But I heard great things about it though. Yeah.
Oh God, Cody, it was so awesome. The food was great. It it was fantastic. I think, was it the final night of the was it the final event of the year? I got an award. I don't know where the award went, but or maybe that was at a Best Buddies banquet. Uh,
Yeah.
but the dueling piano event was so much fun. The guys were just incredible. And so I would encourage you, if you're on a college campus and you don't know anything about Best Buddies, check it out. See if you can get a chapter started on your campus. I want to encourage Ohio State to restart their chapter because I had, like I said, with Austin, I had a lot of fun. We would go get pizza together, go
Mhm.
bowling together. It was just a lot of fun. So
Well, it was definitely a great program. I was with the county board at that time, but yeah, that's how we got kind of connected with Ohio State Mansfield. But yeah, I thought it was a great program. We had, yeah, a lot of those connections, friendships being built, and just being able just to go do fun things together. Um, but yeah, I think after 2020, we kind of, yeah, I think it just kind of, yeah, it would be nice to kind of maybe have that discussion again for sure. But
2020 ruined everything.
yeah, so it was kind of hard just to build those connections. And I think they tried some online things, but it just wasn't the same,
Oh,
with,
it's not.
yeah.
No, it's not. Um, yeah, that state support team 7 did really lead to some great opportunities. I think since then I've spoken at the state house a few different times, just different things like that. Um, Cody, before we wrap up here, I want to
Sure.
ask you something because you're a parent of 3 or 2
Two daughters. Yep. 12 and
daughters.
10. Yep.
So you're a parent of 2 daughters. What is, with you being in the field of disability, what are some things that you try to teach your daughters about being around folks with people with disabilities? Do they get to participate a little bit with you in your work? Do they get to see some of the people you work with? How does that all?
You know, current, with Ohio State Mansfield, I haven't really done much. Many of the students have been to campus. I've seen my office and things, but really, um, with higher education with Ohio State, not so much. The county, working with the county board, really, when I talk to my daughters about just treating everyone fairly. I mean, when we talk about when they come home from school and talk about maybe this student said this something to this other student. I just treat my daughters, just say, hey, be respectful, be nice, be curious, help others. And they've really shown that they really, my daughters are great with just being able to include everyone. So yeah, so I mean, that's the main thing, just talking to them about just um, being nice to everyone and just including everyone. And they do a great job at that. So, but yeah, yep.
It's cool. I usually say, and I forgot to tell you, I
Yeah.
usually the listeners and viewers who know me, I say like we're about to wrap it up two or three times, and then we
Yeah.
never.
Keep going.
So, but there is a couple more questions
Oh,
that I would
sure.
ask you because you recently, well, it's been a year. So you recently left the county board. You went
Mhm.
to Ohio State Mansfield, and you were kind of the disability services coordinator there. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and what your role is there?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, yep, just started with Ohio State Mansfield. Yeah, just in December, so not quite a year yet. Just finishing up my second semester, well, about halfway through our second semester. So, kind of my role with the Ohio State Mansfield accessibility specialist. So, I work with students that are enrolled with Ohio State. So, we could have students that are, full time enrolled, or students that maybe are in what's called CCP, as like maybe high school students that are also attending college courses. So, I set up all accommodations for academics and housing accommodations. We do have housing on our campus as well. And so if a student comes to me with a request for accommodations for their academics, so if a student has a barrier for academics related to a disability, so documented disability, so if a student had like an individual education plan or 504 in high school, they receive supports, they could talk to our office to see what type of supports are also available related to their diagnosis um, for the barriers that they had in high school for supports they needed. Also, students that maybe a diagnosis of, could be a physical or learning disability. It could be students that, so it's pretty broad. We're talking about disability. So it could be students with visual impairments, deaf, hard of hearing, students with mental health diagnoses, um, or students that may have diagnosis of ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, students with that may need um, just extra supports for their academics. So that when I talk about accommodations, some common accommodations are maybe exam accommodations. So if a student may receive extended time on exam or need a quiet space to take an exam, or students need some flexibility with attendance or scheduling based off of, maybe a medical diagnosis,
Right.
those types of things. If there's any physical, any of the room environment needs change to help accommodate that student. Um, we also, with housing, if a student needs, maybe a specific arrangement in housing accommodations, or I've also approved what's called an emotional support animals go through our office. So, variety of things that I work with students. The main thing is how can I help um, um, support students that may have a barrier to academics through accommodations. Um, Also, any student that may have a temporary disability through like a medical condition, say a student has an accident or a medical condition, we can also help them set up temporary accommodations for a semester, a couple semesters as they're working through those things as well. So a little different than the county board for sure. just because I work with a lot of variety of students, and higher education a little different of the coordination, but it's still working with other people, helping them be successful, eliminating barriers, those kinds of things. So that's kind of where my experience from the county board came in with the higher education, which was helpful.
That sounds awesome.
Hmm.
I have a question for you as someone who requires personal care.
Sure.
Um, so like if you have students that require personal care during the day while they're on campus, do you have adult changing tables on campus? How does that work? Does
So we do have a space, that a designated restroom that does have a changing table, adult changing table, accessible for an individual in case of a need. If there's a student or maybe host an event on campus, we do have it available. We also maybe connect. We That's when we would probably work with other organizations to help, maybe work with the county board or work with OOD to help with other, to see if we can get some extra support on campus. I'll give you an example. Like if a student would have maybe a visual impairment, I would work with OOD to see how we can help set up some orientation mobility to navigate campus. So that would be how an example of how we might connect with another organization to help with setting some of those things up. Um, so yeah, I mean, we do have some accessibility for that for sure on campus. That would just be a requirement of talking to the individual, the student, and maybe working with some other organizations to help be successful for that.
Yeah. Do you also help them? I guess this would be in your wheelhouse as far as accommodations, like getting extra test time and all that.
Yeah, yep. So, if a student requests extra test time, so how it works is, students go through an application process. They fill it out. They complete a questionnaire, kind of what barriers they're experiencing or what accommodations that they are requesting or their need. And then I would just ask for documentation. So everyone would need to provide some type of documentation that could include, an IEP 504 from high school. Could be medical documentation, something from maybe a medical provider or a letter, just kind of showing that they have a documented diagnosis. And then we have what's similar to like our with the county board, they always had person centered planning meetings.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. It's called a welcome meeting. And so really just have a conversation about, okay, what, what are some of your needs? What are the barriers you're experiencing? And I can kind of come up with a plan of how we can help you be successful. So, yeah, students can get extended time based off our conversation and documentation that they provide to me. We can definitely that's an approved accommodation, and then from there it gets shared with instructors, and then they help work with the student, and I work with the student to help make that happen for the student on exams or quizzes or whatever.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think you're doing a fabulous job. And not that you need an extra thing on your plate to do, but if Best Buddies is looking for a director,
Okay.
I don't have I don't want to do it because I have too much. I'm out here trying to build
Right.
a brand. So so I think Cody would be a great director and have lots of pizza parties, Cody.
Lots of pizza parties, right.
Some pizza parties, and I'm sure some students would welcome those that are 21 and older
Yeah.
beer occasionally, but be careful, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I touch on one more thing, Nick? As you talk
yeah,
about my position with Ohio State, so a big change too, if students are transitioning from high school to college, a big thing is the self-advocacy piece. So I know you talk about speaking up for yourself a lot. That's a huge piece when it comes to accommodations in college because students have to self-disclose and they have to come to my office to request accommodations. So it's a little different in high school. Typically, students are identified. They work with the student. Hey, help. Where in college, it's more. I won't know a student has a need unless they come talk to me. And so
right.
that's a huge piece. I think that um, especially transition. The younger you can start, the better. But really
Yeah.
speaking up for yourself, understanding what your needs are, understanding what services, supports you need, and how that can help. So I think that's a huge piece I think we need to continue to work on. Um, just communication, students communicating with our office, communicating with their instructors. Because if we don't have that communication, I just won't know that they need support. So I just want to
Yeah,
put that out there. That's a huge piece that I think is important. Um,
yeah, it is. And you brought that up in our pre-call action. I'm
yeah.
glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot about it. And this is where it kind of falls on the parent to teach them, hey, make sure your needs are known, whether it be at school, through a communication device, if you're nonverbal,
Hmm.
or if you're just shy talking in general. One day I'm not going to be here. I know special needs parents don't like to think about that. I say that all the time. My parents didn't want to think about it. Um, y- you know, especially when you get to college age, if the parents calling Cody, well, Cody is not really dealing with the parent on a day-to-day basis. You know, it's not the parent's education. It's your son, it's your daughter's education. So
Right.
your son or daughter needs to learn to say, hey, um, Cody, this is what I need. Are they forced to call you Mr. Kreglow over there?
No, no, Cody's fine.
Okay, okay, good, good. I
Yeah.
was whoa, they need to come down off that.
No, nope,
Okay, so they're not they're not forced to call you Mr. Kregos. So,
no,
you know, just
no,
just go up
nope.
there and say, "Hey." I mean, you can't be like, "Hey," you know, you can't be like, "Yo, Cody, my dude." You probably can't do all that, but I
Right.
mean, uh, you know, just say, "Hey, this is what I need to make my life easier, you know, and more
Yep.
effective on campus."
Mhm.
Learn those communication skills because your mom, your dad, your guardian, whoever will not always be there. One last thing that I wanted to back up to too, as I was
Okay.
sitting here, about the housing. So
Okay.
if someone like me in a power wheelchair comes on campus, how is the housing like? Is it is it bigger? Is it more expensive because it's accessible? Is it included in the room and board? How does that?
Yeah, so what happens is that, if someone requests a housing accommodation, I would help create the plan, approve those, and we have a housing department that'll work through those accommodations. So if there's a need for something specific, housing will work through those. I do know that we do have some accessible, um, I guess, apartments. It's more of an apartment style on our campus. So there are a few that are accessible for individuals that may use a wheelchair, power chair, things like that. So we do have that accessible with some, like roll-in showers or things that are lower as far as cabinets that are things that are accessible. So we do have some apartments that are fully accessible for students that may have that need. Um, if we don't have that, then we would work with our housing department that would help make that fulfill those accommodations. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
That is so cool.
Hmm.
I,
Hmm.
do you have open apartments that I could just come tour? I would love to see it. You know if you do or not?
Um, I don't know. Typically during the school year, they're pretty full, but that might be something like summertime. Typically, they'd be
Yeah,
open. So I could, yeah, let's touch base after this or something later on and see if you want to check out campus. Um,
I would
yeah,
just
I
love
think
to.
right now, I think everything's full, so you wouldn't be able to have that, obviously that students are living there, so you wouldn't have any access to housing now, but that's something potentially in the summertime. Yeah.
Or maybe I could come down there, or maybe here in Columbus, I could start like a disability frat party house.
Oh.
No, you're like, oh God, no, no, Nick. Well, this has been so much fun, Cody, and I really appreciate you coming on and
Yeah, I appreciate you. Yep,
your
definitely.
and what you've been doing for the last 11 years or so. and continue doing it because you're doing a great job. And are there any final words maybe for students out there with disabilities that are maybe wanting to come to college there at the Mansfield campus, or
Yeah, I think just yeah, it's just if you're interested in attending Ohio State Mansfield or any college, I think just getting all the information. I think just asking questions, taking the tour. If you feel like if you receive supports and you need accommodations, definitely talk to your disability services accessibility specialist on your campus and start the process early. I think if you get things put in place early on, it's a lot. I think that's the key is really start early and speak up for yourself if you need something. So those are the two big things. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Cody. Stay right there. We're gonna have a quick conversation after the recording is over, and I want to thank Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio for sponsoring this episode. You guys go get that 20% off. It's here for a limited time only. Use the promo code Speak Up at checkout when you sign up online. Everything is in the show notes. Cody, thank you again for being here today. I appreciate it so much. We will see you guys next time. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nick Comstock. I will see you again next week. Bye bye.